Good evening.
It's good for you to say good evening. And we are back again, Friday roundup time, where we go through the news of the week. And it has been another interesting week. You can just feel everything's starting to wrap up a bit because we're coming into the fun season where it's just going to be games after games after games. And then next week we've got Gamescom, and everything's just going mad at this moment in time.
It is. You can feel that kind of juggernaut just sort of picking up pace as we go into that little bit of that silly and daft season as we hit the end of the year. So, but it's all good fun. It's that time of the year that we love. We go mad for, and we get we get to sit here and talk about lots more games, and even better, we get to pick them up and play them as well. So,
I suppose so. Yeah, just while I remember, I will say this is Cloudy with a Chance of Games, the home of the cloud gaming community. See, I remember, didn't I? I did remember. And you may notice just below there as well, we now have a join button. We have now got a channel membership scheme. So we have set the prices for everybody's budget, we're hoping. You do not feel obliged to join. Don't be worried about it if you can't. If you do, it's more than welcome. We have something to come next week. I'm just dropping this in. And since we've got it, we may as well make use of it. We may host our first live chat next week, depending on things, where people can actually ask us questions, and it'll be no filter. It will be, hopefully, that's probably bad for me, isn't it?
It's probably not great all round, really, but it'll make for a good Q&A.
That would be so we might kick that off next week. So we'll see how that goes. So if you want to ask me questions or ask the team questions, and you'll get a straight answer back, that could be dangerous. Actually, that could be dangerous. But yeah, we're thinking maybe kicking that. If it's not next week, it'll be the week after. I want to get that as a monthly sort of thing anyway. So that's going to be one of the perks, along with all the other. There's millions there. So there is the plugging over and done with there.
Yes, nicely done and well remembered.
I occasionally remember things. But Barry, how have you been this week?
I'm good. It's felt like a very It's felt like a long week, but somehow I kind of find myself at Friday, so not going to complain. But it's good. We've had some great games drop this week. We've had some great content which has gone out on the channel as well, which has been really good. And we've had some good gaming time and all, so no complaints all round.
Absolutely. So I think the only thing I'm going to plug here is I think we're finishing off Sea of Thieves this weekend on a Sunday. Would that be right?
Yeah, we are. Last part
of Sea of Thieves on Sunday. So that should be some good fun there. So let's kick this off. And hi, Feb, thanks for joining. So where are we going first on our whistle stop tour around the cloud gaming sphere?
I think because we've not covered them, we've not featured them in a few weeks. We will head in the direction of Shadow, because obviously there has been some light cast from the shadow, shall we say.
Yes. There is signs of life. There is actual good signs of life here. This is what you sort of want. If a company is struggling around, but Shadow have been struggling, they have just came out and nailed things this week, and they've obviously got their money. They're happy where they are, and they have added over 10,000 people to the platform over the last week or two. So absolutely great to hear. People who have put the request in to join on Monday have got it a couple of days later. Not mentioning any names, they will remain nameless. But there seems to be a bit of a kickoff there with Shadow, which is great to see. And I'm hoping this is the start of things to come, because they have been hinting that there's going to be upgrades as well to Shadow. And I think Shadow itself is and it's perfectly usable, but the tech behind it is starting to the actual hardware there which you're using is starting to show its age a bit, and I'm hoping that it will get a bit of a push even to the 20 series, if not the 30 series or something equivalent, just to give it a bit of a boost.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be nice to see that little bit of an uplift. Kind of just bring it, take it from that usable, section, and then kind of take it into something that you can, rather than just being usable, you can maybe extract a bit more out of, and kind of and lean on it, especially for the price as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Shadow for what the price of it is and for what you get is still value for money, and it is a pretty good service, even though we give it a lot of flack. But that's because we're running two cloud gaming services back to back, and that's why sometimes we have a bit of issues with it. But overall, it is a great service.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's, I mean, I would say it's simple to use, but of course it's effectively a PC in the cloud, so it should be simple to use. But it doesn't. From my experience when we've been doing some of our stuff on it, they don't make it difficult to launch. It doesn't take an age. Those sorts of things. There's nice, good, quick access, which is that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, and when we come on to a section, we are going to be breaking some news. I'm not going to tell you what section it is, but we have breaking news tonight. Why do we have breaking news?
We've always got breaking news. It happens
yes, I know,
a lot.
It's I don't like doing this breaking news carry on, and it's bad news for a platform. But I'm not going to tell you what platform it is. No, it's not that one. I'll give you a hint. It's not that one.
I didn't say anything. I did not say a word.
Yeah. So shall we move on to our next one?
Yes, indeed, we shall. Let's head in the direction of xCloud next.
You weren't expecting it for that, were you?
I half was. I don't know why. I had an inclination.
Kelly, cover your ears. And that gives you a hint as well.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, oh dear. Halo Infinite won't have co-op campaign and the Forge at launch. That has just broke. Windows Central are reporting that, so there won't be a co-op campaign with Halo at launch. It's still coming this year, but it looks like it's going to be worked out. So bad news there.
It's not. I mean, it's not great. I guess. I mean, if it's solely sort of co-op, then maybe they're kind of looking initially to focus on single player and, of course, the multiplayer, which we know is going to be free to play.
Yeah, they are. The full campaign and the full multiplayer is still coming at launch, but the co-op and the Forge is the level editor and things like that, are not going to be available there. So that is some disappointing news coming out from Xbox tonight. See, this is the sort of normal sort of thing. Or Fridays are generally the day where people try and get rid of the bad news because it's the weekend and people forget about it. So that's why this news has came out tonight. But it is bad news. But the full game or the full campaign and multiplayer is still coming.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, whilst it is disappointing, it's going to be the main thing to focus on is the fact that obviously we are still getting, the actual full campaign, as you say, the full multiplayer, because they will, although obviously people will want to play online and will want to go in the co-op or, maybe down the level editing. That's, you want that that story of Master Chief, and you want to be able to jump online and kind of, kind of play in combat in the multiplayer environment. So it's, I think probably with the time of the year, it feels like the right things to to drop, because it, of course, with with things like Battlefield, obviously Call of Duty start in November. Depending on what date gets announced, which I imagine probably be we'll probably get the date next week. For Infinite, that it'll be something to kind of contend with, and the core focus at that point in time will be campaign and multiplayer for sure.
Yep. So, sorry for the bad news out there. Overall, Halo will be playable for the vast majority of people. The two main game modes will be there. You've got your story mode, your full campaign, and you will have your multiplayer. It is just playing the campaign if you're going to play that with someone, and if you want to go into the level that. And I think it's just to reiterate that the main game is still coming, and the main multiplayer is still coming this year. So Xbox have had a very quiet week. They have dropped some news this week. There's two lots of news. We will start off with this here, and this was a blog post from Tuesday. It doesn't feel like Tuesday. It feels a bit longer.
It really does.
It feels nearly a lifetime ago. So EA have went, okay, we're going to be dropping a lot more games on here. So they have dropped Need for Speed Heat, Battlefront 2, Jedi Fallen Order onto xCloud. And we also got release dates and games have actually already released in Recompile, Train Sim World 2, 12 Minutes, Psychonauts 2, Mist. Humankind is not going to the cloud. That is available for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for PC, or just PC version. So if you've got a PC, you can just go and download it. It is not in the cloud. But absolutely unexpected news. The first three games actually took me back somewhat.
I think they were a real surprise when this news dropped earlier in the week, because I don't feel like anybody seen it coming. I kind of don't think anybody was in a position where we sort of called it. And they're kind of course, they're, the selection of titles as well, from EA are, they're relatively, certainly in the Star Wars ones, they're they're popular titles. Need for Speed obviously has its following, so everybody loves to jump in and kind of just hoon it around a city and kind of take on the challenges. So I think there were some good choices to put into the cloud for sure.
Yeah, I'm just going back. I've just seen some more info on the Halo news. There's a video has just dropped, so I think some people were given the heads up of it. So I'm just going to say this. Campaign co-op is planned for Season 2. Forge is planned for Season 3. The launch date announcement is soon. I'm thinking next week. A season is 3 months long. So you're talking 9 months for the Forge, and or 6 months would it be?
Yeah, I would imagine you'll probably get, if we're November, so December.
I'm just that the first season starts at 0, so that'll be 0 to 3 months will be the first season. So Season 2 would be 3 to 6 months, and so the co-op campaign will be within the first 3 months, and then Forge will be within 6 months or so, unless it slips. So there's a big video right there, which has happened. So I don't think there's anything more. But back to the games.
Nope. Of course.
I thought that was we should have probably needed to do that there. But these games, I think, are pretty good. And EA, I think they're getting more and more confident. And they are starting to push them out. Because when we get games coming to console on Xbox now, and it's been like this for the last couple of drops, any ones which go to console go to xCloud automatically. You don't have to think about it. The only ones you have a question mark over are the EA ones. I still don't think we're going to get them all day and date, but it looks like they're starting to add them, which is great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's only an added benefit. If you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, obviously you've got EA Play in there, and you've got access to the cloud. You've now got access to your EA games in the cloud, which is absolutely spot on. You can't be complaining.
Yep. By the way, I've just seen a tweet here. Microsoft are going for bad news Friday, ready for good news Tuesday. So that's from Tom Warren. So
there we go.
Maybe and looks like it could be a good day on Tuesday for Xbox fans. Not only did they have this news, they actually dropped something else this week as well. What else did they drop?
They dropped Quake yesterday, in a variety of fashions across. So we've got some Quake in the cloud, and then we've got some Quake. I think there was one of the Quakes which went to PC only, if I remember correctly.
Yep, it was Quake 2 and 3 are going to PC. I think they're probably going to come at some stage, but this is a new funky Quake being added. There is going to be next gen versions. We'll just call it next gen versions eventually. So that should actually go on to xCloud as well. So they're going to get 4K 120. I jumped into this last night and played it for a bit, and you played it a bit when we were talking last night. And
yeah.
I was trying to catch you out, and you didn't fall for it. With the first achievement I got was within like 30 seconds of loading the first level up, and I hope other people get that as well if they're Quake fans, because it just brought me back so much.
It really did. Firing that up and getting stuck in there, I was just kind of like, oh my, this everything sort of came flooding back, and it just sucked you back in, didn't it? Seeing it, kind of controlling it, playing it, you felt utterly sucked back into that world of Quake. So I'm glad that it's available on Xbox, and also in the cloud as well.
Absolutely. I think that is great. And I pointed this out, and it's really confusing out there. In some of the marketing material, it is not showing as on xCloud, but in some of it is. In the blog post, it's saying it's about xCloud. By the way, they are calling it xCloud. It is not Xbox game streaming. They are actually using the terminology xCloud, which I like to say, because that is just easier for every. See,
yeah, there we go.
Hoping they are just going to move and just call it xCloud going forward, because they are. It's everybody just calls it xCloud. I think it's just better just to call it that.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's the one that makes sense, isn't it?
Yeah, not only do they call it in one place, they call it in two places. So, but I think that is what we want to see. Proto P, I'm going to say, got into Hades on xCloud today. It's great. Too busy with Fortnite Imposter Mode. We're not talking about that. And Killer Queen Black. But yeah, Hades is absolutely great. Believe it or not, that's what I was just playing before I came down here to do this. I was playing some Hades.
Nice.
I actually unlocked a couple of wee good wee things there, so I think I might be playing that a wee bit more. But Xbox are doing pretty well there. We also got another game announcement for which is going to go to xCloud. It's guaranteed to go to xCloud in the game that will never die. Yes, Skyrim. Skyrim is getting remade again, and it is coming out relatively soon. So expect that in xCloud when that launches in the coming months. I think it's November or something.
November, I think it is. Yeah.
So November is looking stacked for Xbox and xCloud, because they've got so many games coming out, and we're going to be flat out playing them and hopefully getting them up here for everybody to see and join in with.
Yep, we certainly will. It's going to be a busy old time, but it's going to be a great time at the same time.
Absolutely. Shall we move on, unless there's anything else I'm missing? Oh yeah, the Xbox have brought out a new headset, which you can pre-order now.
Yes.
And but it's mainly about the games. So we will move on. Am I going to get worried here?
Let's go to the land of Stadia.
Okay, I don't know how deep people want us to go into this, because when we did what has Stadia done now, it was a really good week up until that point. Oh, by the way, if you want more Xbox stuff, check out the Green Room. It's on all good podcast services and some rubbish ones as well, so go check that out. And you can check it out on our YouTube channel. With Stadia, up until Wednesday, I think Stadia had a really, really good week.
I think we both said that on Wednesday. You know, we were both in agreement.
Then Thursday happened, and it has been a real bad day for Stadia yesterday. I'm not saying it's the worst day ever, but it was a pretty bad day for Stadia. We'll start with shall we start with the good news or end with the good news?
Let's end with the good news.
End with the good news. Yeah. Yesterday, a number of games were announced coming out. We had NHL not coming to Stadia. We had Skyrim remaster going to everything. We had Quake going to everything. We had Call of Duty not coming to Stadia. Then we got into even worse sort of territory with the legal documents dropping about Epic and Google, and what Google were trying to do and team up with Tencent to take over Epic. It was not good reading, and I think that's maybe a better thing to maybe discuss on Wednesday when we're going to.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of those ones that's going to be primed for discussion on what has Stadia done now next week.
Which I'm already not looking forward to. And I'm being serious. It's we don't skid around the topics. We will come out and just say what we say. And it was not pretty reading yesterday in Stadia Land when you put everything into the broader context. And again, with some of these big games not coming, people are out there looking at acquiring other ways to play these games, and that is always a slippery slope. And it's a definite worry out there. I would say that more of these big games are not coming.
I think that, you know, there's no doubt, and I think people are really starting to appreciate when they are kind of seeing those. And I think you said yesterday, actually, when we were just, you know, we were sat chatting, often that kind of point for a lot of people is not until there's a particular game or a franchise that they are a lover of or passionate for. And then when kind of that comes round and it doesn't end up getting announced, I think sometimes that then tends to be the point where people almost, I don't want to say become a little disillusioned, but maybe a little disheartened, because they think, well, actually, hang on, I feel like it, I feel like it should have been coming, and it's not, and because it then affects them directly, it becomes a bit of a thing for you as an individual, and as a gamer.
Yeah, I think the way I would say it, we have been made fun of for preaching about MotoGP. We know MotoGP has a minute audience on Stadia, but with that not coming this year, it is. That's why we were talking about it so much, because it is a trend and you don't want to see this trend. And when it starts affecting the games that you really want, it may be too late. Then you should be coming out and calling this sort of stuff out. Or it doesn't matter that Formula One, it wasn't coming because it didn't. it didn't really affect you. Then there was Football Manager as well. It's if you don't see these sort of things, you need to sort of come out, and that's why we call it out. This is why we are indiscriminate when we're calling this out. MotoGP, I have zero intention of playing, and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's just noticing what is going on in the greater landscape of things.
And for me, I think this week has been another one of those weeks. We talk quite a bit about, if you are, if you effectively are a primary a Stadia gamer, or if you are a Stadia gamer, or then if you are a person who supports multiple platforms, let's say, the news that the game isn't coming doesn't have as much of an impact, because then because you are maybe you've got the availability to play on multiple platforms, you're kind of like, well, do you know what? Damn, that's a shame. But do you know what? I've got access to another platform, so I'll pick it up there. For you as a person, as a gamer, that's perfect, because you've got that choice. If you are in a position where you are only a Stadia gamer and that's your preference, then those are the times where maybe these types of announcements kind of hit you a little bit harder, shall we say, because you kind of, at that point, you have to make a decision. Well, am I going to miss out on playing that, even though it's a game that I want, or am I going to look at another platform?
Yeah, and that's where we're starting to see this. And unfortunately, I think that is going to start wrapping up more now, because we're coming into the fun season where games just come bang after bang after bang after bang. And this is why we want all the cloud platforms to succeed. So you can't just jump between all the platforms like Cloudbusters is saying here, but not all the cloud platforms have this, because all the cloud platforms are different. Stadia is the only one where you buy your games. The rest are supplemental to PC. They are supplemental to Xbox with Game Pass, and Luna is a complete another subscription model where they don't have any other channels as yet. So when a game is not available to buy on Stadia, it is more of a worry, because people will be looking in other places, going into consoles and such like. So this is why sometimes Stadia gets. This is where Stadia's actual big issue is, and I feel sorry for them, because they're not quite a sub service and they're not quite a buy service, or some hybrid in between. But they lean more on the buying end, and if you don't have all the games, it just stands out a lot more. And I think that is Stadia's. They are trying to cater to everybody at this moment in time, and I think that's maybe where part of their issue is.
Yeah,
but we will move on to the good news here, because we are going to go into this, I think, not more on Wednesday night. The good news, I think, up until a week of two halves. Sorry, I got it in. See, a week of two halves. So the first half of the week, I think, was absolutely great for them. They got Madden, a big, massive game to end it. Humankind, a big, massive game to end it. Young Souls, which is picking up some positive PR out there for them. And it's a timed exclusive, so people have to come on to Stadia to play that game. And we've got another free-to-play weekend in the Elder Scrolls. Then we also had the updates to Marvel's Avengers as well. And there's also the good news that if you're a YouTube Premium member, you can get 3 months of Stadia Pro for free. So I think up until yesterday, it was a really good week for Stadia.
Yep, I think it was. I mean, they're titles that, we know that kind of people are passionate about, people want to play. And there's a lot of people playing, those games that are sort of dropping in. We've been keeping track of Humankind this week, and it's been relatively consistent in around that 55k, kind of peak or concurrent players. So the fact that Stadia's got it, and of course, Humankind on Stadia is the only place where you've got controller support, and you've also got the direct touch controls, which I know there's kind of been a little bit of feedback that maybe they're not 100% working, quite right. But nevertheless, that and of course we've got state share. We can't omit that. Those are the good things that should be getting kind of shouted from the rooftops. I think I think when you talk about the weaker two halves, I think maybe where the scale maybe did start to tip. I know Cloudbuster's mentioned it in the chat, but there's been a number of people talking on social media about how Madden looks. From what people are saying, from some of the clips I've seen, it's not looking great. It's not running great. Couple that with the fact that you've then got not a tremendous amount of people online because we've got no crossplay for it in Madden. And then that's also transferred into Humankind as well. There are kind of people that have been taken to social media this week who have got it on Stadia, who are sort of saying, well, actually, look, here's an example of PC lobbies. Here's the Stadia lobby. And it's been pretty empty. So it very much is kind of those two halves, as you said. It's great that we've got them, but then we've also kind of, a little bit of concern on maybe some of the other fronts on, with regard to it.
Yeah, again, it's up until Wednesday. I thought Stadia were doing well. Some of the stuff I was expecting to happen, then there was some of this other stuff that happened as well, which I wasn't expecting. Some of them shadow drops by Microsoft, putting the games onto the different platforms, and then that the judge releasing the Google being a little bit naughty and things like that. Again, there's a big talking point which I don't really want to get into now, but I think we are going to cover big style on Wednesday unless something else happens.
Yep, no, definitely. I think it's certainly it'll certainly be one that's pegged for conversation on Wednesday. So we can kind of do a bit more of a deep dive and kind of get a little bit deeper on it then, can't we?
Absolutely. And we will move on. Just remember, Avengers got that big free update as well. So if you've got Avengers,
I was just going to say, sorry, I should have let you finish then. I was just going to say, just Happy's just mentioned in the chat, of course, Cyberpunk's been patched on all platforms. And I know Happy, he's been having some real kind of trials and tribulations with getting it running kind of to a kind of an acceptable level. And he's noticed with the patch, it's running much better for him now on Stadia. So kind of go and check that out because there was quite a lot, I guess, cosmetically in those in that 1.3 update.
Absolutely. So where are we moving on to now?
We're in the home straight now. We're on the last one.
Okay, cool.
And we're off to the land of GFN.
Dum dum dum. GFN. GFN had, in some ways, a strong week and some ways a weaker week for them because they only had 9 games that come into. But the games that they brought were big games again. Just like Stadia, they had Humankind, which is blowing up on Steam, as we've been talking about. Just to put this into some sort of context for people, GFN is a PC-based cloud gaming service, so they are more concentrated on PC games. And I'm telling you now, I'm scrolling down here, and Madden isn't in the top 100 games on Steam. So this isn't making excuses for GFN because I want GFN to have Madden, but they know what their audience are, and Humankind was by far the biggest release of the week for PC gaming, not console gaming, where Madden is much, much stronger. Is Madden even on? It is. Yes, it's NFL's not on. But I think this has been another strong week. We also had, as people have been talking about here in the chat, Fortnite has had that update, and the imposters mode on Fortnite. We gave our takes in that last night. We had two slightly different versions of it, but broadly we were in agreement. Epic have been naughty again,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's much more we can really say on that. It's
No, I don't think there is. You know, I know kind of sort of Proto P in the chat said, you know, so many people have asked him why is Imposter on Fortnite on GFN when there's Among Us, and he said all I got to say is Fortnite's free, including that mode, and Among Us isn't. You know, Among Us on PC isn't. Obviously, there may be a certain number of people that claimed it free on Epic because it was an Epic game.
What was it? Was some ridiculous number, like 15 million or something? It was absolutely bonkers, the amount of people
it was,
claimed it. But yeah, another you got a free perk as well if you're founders, and I think that looks absolutely amazing. We discussed that last night.
Yeah,
and we also got here's the games coming. Ukulele, go pick that up in the Epic Games Store. It is free. We've got Greek Memories of Azure, Humankind, Rims Racing, Recompile, The Architect Paris, Arid. Go pick Arid up. That's free on Steam, and it looks really, really interesting. We discussed that one last night.
Yep.
Rogue 96 and Wargame European Escalation. Is there any ones which you want to have a wee quick talk about there? Yes, you can do it. I allow you. Off you go.
I think the one that stood out for me this week, you know, although I have played Humankind this week, the one that certainly stood out to me and that I was most looking forward to is Road 96. You know, it's one of the things that I kind of said to the guys behind the scenes. I can see Road 96 dropping onto GFN this week, and kind of bang, sure enough, there it is. And it is, for me, the kind of the adventure and the kind of that narrative story driven choice based game. I'm really looking forward to kind of getting in. And as I said last night on the GFN show, I am going to be doing some content for it. May well even do a live stream. So keep your eyes peeled for rather the YouTube notification or kind of something going out on Twitter from @Cloudy with Games, just kind of confirming what we're going to do on that front.
Cool. I think everybody knows the big games are, and if I'll just try like Quake as well, go check that out. That looks really class. The game I'm going to actually highlight is Rims Racing. The reason why I'm highlighting that, it isn't because this looks like an absolutely amazing game, but it does look really cool, and it looks different what I was actually expecting. It is because Nikon, or whatever way you pronounce it, this is another game which is dropped on the GFN, so it looks like they're really backing GFN, and they're starting to buy up a load of companies as well, and publishers and developers. And if they're supporting GFN, we're probably going to expect to see these games drop on as well. This is why it's really this is why I look at the broader industry out there, because you need to see what is going on and who's buying who's involved with who, because all this has sort of knock-on effects which you may not actually see. But with Rims Racing coming on, and then we've had other games over the last number of weeks which have been from the same publisher, it looks like they're just chucking the games on here, which is good to see.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the thing that sort of, I guess, stands out for me as well is, you know, we almost kind of feel that air of disappointment because it's 9 titles and we've kind of got used to double figures at least, you know, on a weekly basis. But more than 50% of that list this week is pretty much day-and-date releases.
Yeah, what I said behind or yesterday it was, the reason why I think there was less titles this week, I think Humankind, they knew this was going to be a big title for them, and I think they wanted to get that as running as well as they could. They did have a hiccup, which they resolved within 24 hours in regards to that, where the Steam Sync wasn't working, the saves. So if you were playing on GFN and went to your PC, it wouldn't hook up, but that is now being fixed. But again, GFN know their market and know who they're trying to please here, and I think they've hit the spot here this week again. I don't think there was too much there, but they couldn't have got.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, if you look at what has dropped, overall this week, they've certainly they've picked up probably the biggest sizable chunk of it that they could, really, haven't they?
Yes, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a wee cheeky sneaky check on GFN, because what happened last week? We
even though we went through kind of the the GFN Thursday and the blog post was out, there was actually foreclosed, snuck under the radar, and dropped onto the service late Thursday night.
Yeah, they've got Far Cry 3 highlighted here. Maybe has that dropped onto Ubisoft Connect?
I think it may have, because I'm sure it has actually, because I think I've seen a couple of social media posts about it.
Yeah, I think Far Cry 3 has sneaked onto Ubisoft Plus, because I don't think that was available on Ubisoft Plus. So, yep, release date was today. So, Far Cry 3. I'm telling you now, I played Far Cry 3 a couple of weeks ago, and I said to Barry, I did. Yeah. I was playing it through my Shield. I had it on Steam, so if you've got Ubisoft Plus, you can go just go play this. It looked like a complete remaster playing it on the Shield. It was absolutely stunning looking. I needed to drop down some of the settings because it wasn't hitting 60 FPS, but if you had it on full, everything pushed to the max, it was 30 FPS, but it just looked absolutely gorgeous. But go check that out. I thoroughly recommend checking that out if you've got a Shield. It is doing wonders there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, you touched on the Shield there, and that AI, 4K upscaling is certainly something to behold, because it does have it has a really good impact on the games, and it leaves you in a place where they look very crisp, very clear, and they run really well as well, which is, that's exactly what you want.
Yep. I think that is us now. Unless, oh yes, there's one more thing we have to talk about.
Challenge?
The challenge, yes. Everybody still got their time to get in the challenge.
Yes.
And you can play that on multiple platforms. What is this challenge? We will probably have to have a talk afterwards to see what this week's challenge is going to be.
Yes, we will indeed. So we've got around about 24 hours left on this week's challenge, which is in Rocket League. So free to play, available on multiple platforms, not locked into any platform. It's literally available, across a multitude of them. And then the challenge this week was really simple. It was jump into the 1v1, game mode, and then basically try and see if you could set the biggest winning margin. So when I recorded this last Saturday, I put a winning margin of 2. So I went to say my score line then, and it was 3-1. But yeah, so the winning margin was 2. We've got other people who I know kind of do play Rocket League relatively regularly, who kind of seem to be fighting it out at the top spot. But what we want is everybody to get involved as best they can, and just have a crack at it and see if you can beat the cloudy score, and kind of let us know either in the comments on the video on the YouTube channel, or kind of tag us in a screenshot over on Twitter as well, and let us know kind of how you've done with that challenge.
Yeah, cool. I've actually had a thought of a challenge there while you were speaking.
Oh, excellent. Good stuff.
And it is a game available on Stadia and GFN. It's not available on xCloud. So, there's
you got me racking my brains now.
Yes, I'll give you another clue. Sammy would be maybe taking part in this one. But we will move on and say thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time. Next time for us will probably be Sunday when we do Sea of Thieves.
Yes.
And then Tuesday's the Green Room.
Tuesday's the Green Room.
Wednesdays, what has Stadia done now?
We've
Thursday,
also got Gamescom on Tuesday.
we've got Gamescom on Tuesday, which is taking the place of the Green Room.
Great, yeah, it's taking place, yeah, because we're back into the schedule now of the Green Room alternates every second week, and it's alternating with the Xbox news as well.
Yeah. And we also need to do next week our Stadia Pro predictions. Which
Oh, yes, we do.
so we
Yes.
may do them on Monday. What if we'll maybe have a wee think and maybe do them on Monday?
Yeah,
Thursdays, GFM Thursdays, and then Fridays is just as we do here. So thank you all for watching.
Thank you very much.
And see you next time.
Bye.